says, to the memory of the victims shot into the Danube by Arrow Cross militiamen. At first, Soros was actually a messenger boy for the Nazis because he knew where the Jews lived. So he would ride his bicycle and serve a notice for the Jews to report to the train station where they would later be sent to their death.
Well, actually, funny way, it's just like in markets that if I weren't there, of course I wasn't doing it, but somebody else would be taking it away anyhow. In other words, whether I was there or not, I was only a spectator, the property was being taken away.
The irony is only one of those two men actually collaborated with the Nazis, and it wasn't Viktor Orban. Ezra Levant here from Rebel News. I'm in Hungary doing a series of videos called thetruthabouthungary.com. And one of the myths I heard about Hungary is that it is somehow anti-Semitic. I'm always skeptical when people throw that word around because there is real anti-Semitism in the world, but it's often used playing the race card against conservatives. And Viktor Orban and Hungary have a conservative approach to politics, to immigration, to national identity. So whenever I hear that claim of anti-Semitism, I want to make sure it's bona fide. We arrived in Budapest yesterday, and first thing I saw literally this morning when I came down to the lobby of our hotel was a man in a Jewish yarmulke. Said there's a Jewish presence in the city, and people are obviously not afraid to walk around visibly identifiable as Jewish. That's just an anecdote, but here I am outside the Parliament buildings on the banks of the beautiful Danube River, and I was just walking, and I came upon this memorial. It's not very busy now, but a moment ago there was a group of Israeli tourists who were here. It was quite packed, and they said a memorial prayer. Here's just a clip of them singing a song. So here's what they came to see, and there's 3 plaques. This one's written in English, and there's one in Hungarian and one in Hebrew. It says, to the memory of the victims shot into the Danube by Arrow Cross militiamen in 1944-45. Arrow Cross, of course, was the local Nazi brigades here in Hungary, and you can see the memorial itself are shoes. Now, they're not real shoes, they're metal and they're affixed to the ground, and you can see that some people have placed memorial candles next to them. In Budapest, without even looking for it, we see not just traces of Jewish life, but real living Jewish life, and Jews celebrated in public, Jews unafraid to be in public. And I know that these are just quick anecdotes, but it's been a very Jewish day, and not even on purpose. And it got me thinking about the slurs against Hungary, the false accusation that it is somehow anti-Semitic, when in fact Orban himself is quite a philo-Semite and pro-Israel. I think one of the reasons why Hungary is smeared as anti-Semitic and smeared so falsely is because Orban and his fellow Hungarian George Soros have had a clash of the titans. Who's the boss of Hungary? Well, all Viktor Orban has going for him is he's won re-election 4 times, and by a majority of Hungarians. George Soros seeks to control, as he does in the United States and other countries, through influence and donations behind the scenes. Alas, he lost his showdown with Orban and has basically been extirpated from the country. The irony is that Soros himself colluded with the Nazis during this time period. When the Nazis came into Hungary late in the Second World War, for the first 5 years of the war, the Jewish community in Budapest and Hungary at large was spared. The Nazis didn't invade Hungary until late. But George Soros and his father decided they were going to survive the invasion by any means necessary. And I remind you that Soros was just a teenager at this time, so he's really doing what his father told him to do. At first, Soros was actually a messenger boy for the Nazis because he knew where the Jews lived. So he would ride his bicycle and serve a notice for the Jews to report to the train station where they would later be sent to their death. That's what George Soros did. Then his father assigned him to a Nazi official who was going around expropriating Jewish property, and George Soros was told to pretend he was Gentile and to have a secret identity. And again, George Soros did this on the instructions of his father, and he was just a teenager. So I don't think you can overly blame a teenager for doing whatever his father told him to do just to survive the Holocaust. But it's what Soros said about it later that is so shocking. Here's Soros when he was interviewed about the subject by Steve Croft on 60 Minutes. And Croft made the point that whatever he did as a teenager, surely that's caused him psychological trauma later in life. Soros couldn't have been more blasé. He actually said, look, it was a market opportunity. If I didn't do it, someone else would have. Take a look at the cold-hearted, cold-blooded response that Soros, the grown man, had to describe his work with Nazis and Nazi collaborators.
My understanding is that you went out with this protector of yours who swore that you were his adopted godson.
Yes.
Went out, in fact, and helped in the confiscation of property from the Jews.
That's right. Yes.
I mean, that sounds like an experience that would send lots of people to the psychiatric couch for many, many years. Was it difficult?
Not at all. Not at all. Maybe as a child you don't see the connection, but it created no problem at all.
No feeling of guilt.
No.
For example, that I'm Jewish, and here I am watching these people go. I could just as easily be there. I should be there. None of that.
Well, of course, I could be on the other side, or I could be the one from whom the thing is being taken away. But there was no sense that I shouldn't be there, because that was... well, actually, funny way, it's just like in markets, that if I weren't there, of course I wasn't doing it, but somebody else would be taking it away anyhow. In other words, whether I was there or not, I was only a spectator, the property was being taken away.
Absolutely shocking. I also read in a biography of Soros that he regarded his time as a teenager in league with the Nazis as the most exciting time of his life. I think that's one of the reasons why Hungary is smeared as anti-Semitic, because it's conservative, and all conservatives are called names, but because Viktor Orban dared to tangle with George Soros. The irony is only one of those two men actually collaborated with the Nazis, and it wasn't Viktor Orban. For Rebel News, I'm Ezra Levant, and to see all of my reports from Hungary, go to thetruthabouthungary.com. And if you think this kind of citizen journalism is valuable, please chip in at that same website. Between our airfare and our train and our hotel, I think it's going to cost us about $3,000 by the time we're done. And of course, we don't get any government money or any corporate money for the journalism we do. If you can chip in, I'd be grateful. That's thetruthabouthungary.com. I'm in Hungary all week doing citizen journalism, trying to find out the truth about Hungary. If you support this journalism or want to see all of my work on the subject, go to thetruthabouthungary.com.